Hey guys, it's me, Winter. I'm back. I did take a hiatus. I was having to take care of myself, my health. A lot of it had to do with the mental health, and then it just kind of trickled down into the physical health because I wasn't eating. I was a little depressed, so I was like depressed, not eating, and then not eating, depressed. I'm depressed because I'm not eating, and I'm not eating because I'm depressed, kind of thing. And it just was like a never-ending cycle. And then by the time I'm finally able to get back on track, I run into this amazing page, Brittany Vaughn, on YouTube. And then before I knew it, instead of filming and editing, I'm binge watching this chick's channel that has been shoved in my face, but I kept going over it because I'm just like, I don't need anything new. And she has almost 200 videos or something crazy like that, so of course I'm just sitting there binge watching. I'm just like, oh my goodness, I really could be doing something a little bit more productive. Finally, I had to force myself and be like, look, listen, this is time to get back to work. Here I am. This case is, just try to imagine this for a second. You're going about your day and you get a phone call from law enforcement and they tell you that your whole entire family is dead. Well, that's not the phone call that either of us would ever want to ever get in life. That's what happened here in this case. It was not a good time. It took place in 1983 in Bloomington, Illinois, and truly just a regular smuggler day, and it's turned into a whirlwind of lies, religion, and deceit and misinterpretation, all combined. So this should be very fun. David Hendricks is his name. He was born on August 5th, 1954 in Chicago, Illinois. He's a Leo. He grew up in the suburbs of Oak Park in Chicago. His family were just extremely religious. They belonged to a fundamentalist Christian group on the Plymouth of Brethren, an exclusive branch of a Christian denomination. The Brethren, they don't have many members, and they also don't have physical churches. They don't have clergies or central leadership of any sort. What they do is they meet together physically in a group at each other's homes. From there, that is where they pray and read the Bible and discuss scriptures that are in the Bible. It's a very small organization. David, when he was 15 years old, he was at a church function when he ran into a girl named Susan Palmer. She was 16 at the time. He ended up having a huge crush on her. She didn't really know him, but he knew her. He was familiar with her. Susan, she was a straight A student and on the honor roll. She lived about 200 miles away from Oak Park in a really small town, which could be why Susan didn't know who David was at the time, because she didn't live very close and she was just busy being a schoolgirl, being into religion. But Susan ended up getting acquainted with David because before her senior year of high school, she got a summer job that was in the area where David lived. It's at a publishing company, religious based. She worked there. That was supposed to just be her summer job. She ended up staying with the Hendricks family for a couple of days until she got acquainted with the area and where she would be going and things of that nature. Because they were a part of the same religious group, that's how they operated. They would stay at each other's homes, they trusted each other, things like that. That's how Susan ended up staying with David, and that's where she got acquainted with David. She ended up really liking him to the point where when the summer was over, she got offered to have a full-time position there, which she accepted, and ended up taking her high school classes in the evening so that way she could still graduate from high school. With that, she and David, by the end of the year, they were dating. That was the change in her life. She went from small little town, now she's in Oak Park, the suburbs, working at a publishing company. She graduated from high school. David, he helped her with her math. He was like her math tutor. So that definitely helped in getting to know him better as well. At that time, David was able to gather enough credits for him to graduate as well. And shortly after that, they got engaged. They got engaged privately. From there, David went to a 2-year university when he graduated. When he was done with those 2 years, he ended up working for a friend and his family. The family owned a prosthetic and orthopedic company. They fabricated and fitted artificial limbs and braces. That's where he was working at the time to make money. David is 18, Susan is 19, and they got married. After that, she became pregnant, and at the end of the next year, she gave birth to Rebecca, their first daughter. On September 24th, Susan became pregnant again a year later. They are a family of 3.5 because Susan is pregnant. And that's when David decided that he wanted to leave the prosthetic and orthotic business that he worked for with his friend for 3 years and decided that he was going to open up his own prosthetic business. This was at Galesburg, Illinois. And then Susan gave birth to another daughter named Grace on April 30th, 1976, making her a Taurus. But sadly, the Galesburg business didn't work out for David, so they decided to move to Bloomington, Illinois. And that's where David started up another orthotic business, because if at first you don't succeed, you dust yourself off and you try again. Never give up. Never give up. And then Susan became pregnant for the 3rd time. And then on June 22nd, 1978, she gave birth to a little boy named Benjamin. Now they're a family of 5 and they are trying to thrive. And this time, David's business was so successful. It took off like nobody's business. That was when David decided that he wanted to file for a patent for a back brace. In November of 1979, the back brace, he named it Cash Brace. And that's an acronym for cruciform anterior spinal hyperextension. It spells out cash. That is a genius. David also had a patient care business as well. He had a couple of different sources where he was making an income and decided that he was going to sell that business and just focus solely on manufacturing and selling the cash brace. In 1982, the Hendricks decided that they wanted to move into a nice home in Bloomington, Illinois, and that's what they did. They're living a wonderful life together, deeply, deeply religious. They didn't have TV in their home, they didn't have radio, they didn't have any electronics. Of course, back in that time, they didn't have those sorts of things. If they did, it was probably more of like a luxury, and this family definitely could have afforded such, but they only had a record player, and this was so that they could play religious songs. That's how their household was. And of course, when it came to Halloween, there was no trick-or-treating for the kids there. Instead, they would hand out candy corn and religious pamphlets to the children who came to their door for candy. They're just living their life together. A normal, happy, thriving family. The cash brace business flourished. However, it was a 2-employee company because it was David working, and then he had hired an office manager named Beverly Crutcher. She handled the correspondence and the general bookkeeping, scheduling, the day-to-day management of the corporation's office. It was a 2-person party. David, he had to travel a lot in order to secure additional professional customers who would prescribe or who would utilize his products versus other people's products to secure these customers. So he would have to take several business trips throughout the year, which is understandable. On this day, November 7th, David was scheduled to leave for another business trip. On that day, he had to go to Wisconsin. This day was just like any other day. Kids went to school, David went to work. Hi, babies. David leaves his office at approximately 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And then when he returned home, he went to go work on his motorcycle to get it ready for the winter storage. For the winter storage for his airplane hangar, David rode his motorcycle to the airplane hangar and left it there to jog home. Then when he got home, the kids were playing outside. Then around 5:30, he called the kids into the house. Susan, she was scheduled to attend a baby shower that day as well. She left for the baby shower about 5:50, 6 o'clock. It was like a 30-minute drive. A baby shower was in Delavan, which is west of Bloomington. After Susan left, that's when David decided that he and the kids would go to Chuck E. Cheese for dinner. So they got to Chuck E. Cheese around 6:30. They ordered a medium vegetarian pizza and a pitcher of root beer. Usually, under ordinary circumstances, their pizza would be ready approximately 15 to 20 minutes after it was ordered. For some reason this day, the pizza didn't end up getting eaten until about 7 o'clock p.m., which leaves about a 10 to 15 minute grace period, I guess, in between that time, which you're probably wondering why the petty, minute, detail-to-detail timing. Well, when it comes down to certain things, as far as the courts are concerned, every I has to be dotted and every T has to be crossed, because any little minute detail that you miss could change the entire outcome of any case. I understand this is not a case blog, but I just want to bring you guys to the scene as close as possible to the situation at hand. There might even be something that you might pick up that the law enforcement didn't. Who knows? We'll do this. We'll be in this together. Yeah, David calls the kids from the play area around 7 o'clock. And they eat the pizza. After they're done with the pizza, they returned back to the play area. Well, after a while, David, he was ready to go. He had a busy evening ahead of him. So he called the kids to, hey kids, let's go. Let's get going. Let's go home, get ready for bed. But the kids didn't want to leave right away. So he decided that he was going to leave the restaurant, get gas, and then come back to get gas in preparation for his business trip, and then return and get the children, which is what he did. They also, every week, they like to stop at a mobile library, a library that's mobile. This was the day that they were to go to this library. It was getting ready to close, so he told the kids, hey, we've got to get going because we've got to get to this library. They had to stop off at home first to get the books, and then to come back, check it out, and do all the other fun stuff, which they did. They were able to make it in time. They were there, they returned the books, they picked up the other books they would have needed. This was about 8 o'clock p.m. So after they got the books, they got home. This was about 8:30. They played a couple of games of hide and seek before getting ready for bed. After they got ready for bed, David read the kids a bedtime story, and they were in bed somewhere between 9 and 9:30 p.m. that night. While they were getting ready for bed, David was packing up his suitcase and getting prepared for his business trip, as well as putting the suitcase into the car during the time that the kids were getting ready for bed. In the meantime, Susan is enjoying herself at this baby shower. She had a bunch of vegetables to eat. She had cookies. She even had some punch. But around 9:40, she's ready to leave. She starts to go home, and then she gets there at approximately 10:30 to 10:45. When she gets home, before David leaves for his business trip, they have just a little chit chat, some small talk, a brief conversation. They had plans to adopt a boy at some point, so they had mentioned that a little bit. Then he kissed his wife and his children goodbye before he left for Wisconsin for this business trip. David leaves for his business trip to Wisconsin. That was that day. The next day, on November 8th, 1983, the Bloomington Police Department received 2 calls from 2 different entities. One call was from Susie's family members. The other call was from David Hendricks. Susan's family called because there was a family function that day that Susan and the kids were supposed to have attended, but they didn't show up. So they wanted to have the police department do a welfare check on them just to make sure everything was okay. And shortly after, around the same time, David was calling with the same request. He had just got into town and he had been trying to contact his family and his wife the whole day, and to no avail. He was calling to check up on them, do a welfare check, make sure that they were okay, because he's out of town, so he's unable to do anything. Of course, 2 different family members calling about the same situation. The police were on it, and they went to the Hendricks home. They arrived about 10:30 at night, and Susan and the children were home. They were in bed, but they were slaughtered, murdered. Apparently, they were murdered in their sleep, as there weren't any signs of a struggle. There were any defense wounds. When you see this, it means that they were incapacitated, sleeping. There was an axe and a kitchen butcher knife that was apparently used to bludgeon the family because they were tossed near the bodies of the 3 children. There wasn't any evidence of forced entry, but the back door was found unlocked. And father, head of household, he was gone on a business trip, so he was not there to tell his side of the story. What happened? We don't know. Maybe there's some more clues that could possibly reveal what happened that night. Maybe a fly on the wall could tell us. Maybe the walls, if they could talk, would probably tell us. But for right now, anyone who could tell us is no longer. So we're going to have to find ways to work around that. And that will be featured in part 2. So thank you for watching part 1. I do love you guys. I'm so happy to be back. I hope you guys are all doing okay. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.
Let's take a joyride with the top back. Couple dates, couple trips, know you like that. Don't play no games, no I fight back. Every fight I swear, baby, I don't wanna go. Baby, I don't wanna go. Every fight I swear, baby, I don't wanna go. Baby, I don't wanna go. Only gone for a day, but I need you. I got 100 reasons why I always miss you. I be feeling these vibes when I'm with you. I be playing this song when I miss you. Only gone for a day, but I need you. I got 100 reasons why I always miss you. I be feeling these vibes when I'm with you. I be playing this song when I miss you. Yeah, yeah, when I miss you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Always playing this song when I miss you. 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 I ain't perfect, don't do too much or fall back. I'm a different breed, don't confuse that. Or you bound to do a couple double backs. Yeah, don't confuse that I love you. I just don't do all that tick for tack. I just want you to show that I love back. We in this for life, ain't no going back, you know. So I stole your heart, ain't no going back. Let's take a joyride with the top back. Couple dates, couple trips, know you like that. Don't play no games, no I fight back. Every fight I swear, baby, I don't wanna go. Baby, I don't wanna go. Every fight I swear, baby, I don't wanna go. Baby, I don't wanna go. Only gone for a day, but I need you. I got 100 reasons why I always miss you. I be feeling these vibes when I'm with you. I be playing this song when I miss you. Only gone for a day, but I need you. I got 100 reasons why I always miss you. I be feeling these vibes when I'm with you. I be playing this song when I miss you. Yeah, yeah, when I miss you. Yeah, 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 yeah. Always playing this song when I miss you. 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 Always playing this song when I miss you.